Shalom, and welcome to What the Watchman Sees, a ministry that will sift through all of the social media noise to show you news of importance from the Most High's perspective. As watchmen, we are here both to warn of dangers and give biblical answers for dwelling in the secret place of the Most High during these times of confusion. Tell your family and friends to like, share, and subscribe as we delve into what Yahweh has for us, the apple of His eye. Let's get to work. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to continue with our meditations on the Shabbat. This particular meditation is part of a much larger teaching, but since we're doing meditations now that last no longer than 30 minutes, we want to encourage you to consider looking at the entire presentation on the Bank's Bible Studies. The link is in the comments below. The Father is very concerned about us as His people and what caused our demise. Now we know that the short story is that the Most High had for us a covenant that we were under and that He had cut with us, His people, but we broke that covenant. So He told us in Deuteronomy chapter 28 what would happen if we kept the covenant, which was where the blessings were, and what would happen if we did not keep the covenant, which is where the curses were. So this presentation is going to be how the Most High then and now continues to work with the people of the Most High. The covenant was given to the people, but the covenant came through the leadership of the people. So we're going to be looking at some slides just to remind Yah's people what that actually looks like. So the title of this presentation is Leadership for the People of Yah. Yah has always worked through the leaders of the nation, and He will continue to do so. So that's what we're going to be taking the time during this meditation to remind ourselves. Leadership starts with the book of Genesis. Several lessons ago, we were looking at the idea of leadership through the principle that was brought to us in Isaiah chapter 4, where he talked about Israel being the vineyard and Judah as a part of Israel being the choice vine. That vineyard had a hedge of protection around it. There was a wall, and then there was a hedge of briars and thorns. So the Most High was telling the people through Isaiah's vision that the Most High saw His nation as that choice vineyard, but because the hedge had been broken into, people and animals had come in and destroyed the vineyard. That hedge of protection is what we're going to be talking about. That hedge is, in fact, the leadership of the Most High's people. So that's not a new concept with the Most High in Israel, because the idea started in Genesis chapter 2. Adam's charge was to dress and keep the garden. The garden encompassed all the blessings of the Most High, and it was Adam's job to make sure that the Most High's blessing remained intact. Well, we know the story. He failed to do his job. He allowed the serpent to come in, and he worked, although the serpent used the woman, he worked through both of them to assure or ensure that the vineyard that the Most High had for Adam and the woman was destroyed. So that was the first indication of how the Father works with the people of His likeness. Then we also found that same thing in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 45, because now there's a second Adam, and that second Adam is in charge of the same blessing that the first Adam was. In essence, the job of the second Adam is the same as the first Adam: provide protection for the life that's inside of the garden. Well, who's inside of the garden? That's how we got to Isaiah chapter 4. The Most High's people, His nation, is inside of the garden. So the garden's job is to produce fruit so that people can benefit from the life-giving fruit. Okay, so Adam, the first Adam was a living soul. The last Adam is a life-giving spirit. In between that, the Most High used Yasharel, Israel, because Israel becomes the bridge from the first Adam to the last Adam. Israel's job was to be that vineyard. And just as our Messiah is the hedge of protection around us as a part of the vineyard, when Israel was given its assignment, the Most High gave leaders to be the hedge around Yasharel or Israel. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And let's go to the next one. So there are several scriptures that we want to use. And as it says here, the shepherds lead badly. We're going to come back to that theme. But because the Most High has a way of giving the word of life to his people, who are then to give the word of life to the rest of the world, and the leadership then is a key component of that. The leaders in scripture are all also referred to as shepherds, whether they be from the priestly tribe of Levi or whether they be from the kingly tribe of Judah, thus David. Those two people groups, the Most High identified as the leaders of the nation of Yasharel. And so anytime the Most High was speaking to the nation, he spoke through leadership. Prime example is when the children of Israel, Yasharel, were at Mount Sinai to receive the words from on high, to receive the law of the covenant. The Most High did not use a booming voice in the sky to speak to the people. He told Moses, come up here on this mountain. I'll give it to you. You give it to them. That is the pattern. The pattern is that the nation had someone that the Most High used and continues to use, because he's still doing the same thing. And that someone is always a person who has been identified by the Most High. So it was those people who were to be the shepherds of the nation. Don't forget, we're talking about at least 600,000. There were probably over 1 million people that came out of Egypt and went into the desert on their way to the promised land. So those people all needed to be shepherded. You don't have that large a group of people without leadership. From the inception of the nation, that was the case. So the shepherds were supposed to be that hedge of protection around the people of the nation. Proverbs chapter 29 verse 2 says what happens when the shepherds are righteous and when the shepherds are wicked. It says when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when a wicked man rules, the people groan. Because of the season that we're in, that's why the Most High wants us as his people to understand the current state of affairs and why things are the way they are. The next verse is in Isaiah chapter 56:11, talking about the shepherds again. Yes, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough, and they are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, everyone for his gain from his quarter. So we see what happens when the shepherds are not moving in the blessing of the covenant that the Father has given to his people. Jeremiah, another prophet, says it a different way. He says, my people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. That's what happens when you have poor leadership. When the people lose their way, it's because the shepherds weren't guiding the people. They weren't feeding the people. We'll see a little bit more of that in Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 34, verses 8 through 12. I'm going to read this one. As surely as I live, declares the Almighty Yahuwah, because my flock lacks a shepherd and has become prey and food for every wild beast, and because my shepherds did not search for my flock, but fed themselves instead, therefore you shepherds, hear the word of Yahuwah. This is what the Almighty Yahuwah says. Behold, I am against the shepherds, and I will demand from them my flock and remove them from tending the flock so that they can no longer feed themselves. For I will deliver my flock from their mouths, and it will no longer be food for them. For this is what the Almighty Yahuwah says. Behold, I myself will search for my flock and seek them out. As a shepherd looks for his scattered sheep when he is among the flock, so I will look for my flock. We are the flock that has been scattered because we had bad leadership. The Most High has looked and found us, and that's who Yeshua is. He is the shepherd, and we are the sheep of his flock. We had other shepherds, and they misused their office, and they misused us, their people. So when you look at the state of our community, what you're looking at is a leaderless community. We have no leaders. Now, that's with our community, but in this entire nation, whether you're looking at the executive branch, whether you're looking at the legislative branch, whether you're looking at the judicial branch, whether you're looking at the religious community, it's the same thing. And then you can expand that to the rest of the world and you will see the same thing. This is the phenomenon of this age. So Nehemiah talked about it when he was told, okay, now you can go back and fetch your nation and your land and Jerusalem in particular. So this is why we're encouraged to follow Nehemiah's pattern. We have to go back and rebuild the foundation and the means of sacrifice for sin. We have to separate ourselves from those who are actively moving against the will of the Most High. We have to put a hedge of protection around what we have. So, in other words, we have to reestablish the leadership. And then the leaders are the ones who take the words of the Most High about his relationship with his people, his sovereignty, our weaknesses. Our leaders rehearse the true history of his people, and rather than a made up history that always has his people seen in the light of all the blessings that come on us, and never talking about how we have to keep saying that because most of us are not living under blessings, we're living under curses. But the leaders that we have are telling us, no, don't believe what your eyes see. Don't believe what your heart is experiencing. Believe these empty and vain words that you are prospering. All you got to do is just wait a couple more minutes and the blessings are going to be on the way. No, it's not. We're under a curse. So the real leaders are going to tell the people that. And then, but part of our history is the fact that it's the Most High that made us who we are in the light of his purpose for us. He gave us land that we didn't previously own, but it was our disobedience that got us kicked out of the land. He sent prophets to warn the people, just like he is sending prophets to warn the people today. And he has restored us, his people, on numerous occasions because that's what we have needed. What we need to do is the same thing that our ancestors needed to do. We need to recommit to the covenant that he made. Okay, so in the modern day application, what does that look like when it comes to the leaders or the shepherds of the people? Just as the Most High determined, I'm going to identify Moses, the family line that you came through, the line of the Levites. I'm going to identify them as the priest, and I'm going to identify the line of Judah as those who are ruling the society in conjunction with the priest. This actually hasn't been said in this presentation, but the Most High did not separate the quote unquote religious community from the quote unquote secular community. The nation of Yasharel didn't operate that way. The nation of Yasharel is the so-called religious community. The entire nation and everything the nation does is spirit driven. That's what the will of the Most High is. And in the fact that it is spirit driven, that means that that's the spirit that drives the thoughts and intents and purposes of the nation and the individuals in the nation, is so that the nation will prosper on the earth, which means that there has to be a political system, there has to be an economic system, there has to be a way of protecting the nation. All of those things are underneath the auspices of the Most High and the leaders that the Most High has identified to give to the people of the Most High. So unlike this nation that says the secular part is in one area and the religious part is in another area. So the religious people, you stay on Sunday, and the stuff that you do and the platitudes that you speak to the people, that's good for Sunday. All the rest of the days of the week, that's the secular people's purview. Don't come over there, and they won't come over where you are. It's called the separation of church and state. Okay. So in the way that this country operates is we say, okay, in the secular realm, we'll choose who the leaders are. And quiet as it's kept, in the religious realm, they do the same thing. They choose who their leaders are going to be. In the Most High's economy, in the Most High's nation, he chooses the leaders. So what these scriptures remind the Most High's people of is what his qualifications for leadership are. And you can go all the way back to Moses or even Abraham, and you will see these same attributes. So then you project up to 2025. These are the attributes of those who the Most High wants leading us, his people. 1 Timothy 3, verse 1 and 2. Here are the qualifications. The priest or the overseers or the bishops, as they're called by the Most High, must be above reproach. They must be the husband of one wife. They must be temperate and self-controlled. They must be respectable. They must be hospitable, able to teach, and not dependent on wine or any other mind-altering substances, not violent, but gentle, peaceable, free of the love of money. That one needs to be read again. Free of the love of money. A manager of their own households, keeping their own children under control with complete dignity, because if they can't manage their houses, they shouldn't be over Yah's nation, Yah's people. And those who help them, or who the scriptures call deacons, but deacons are just other servants, they're also called by the Most High, and they have similar expectations. They have to manage their own households well. They have to keep their children under control with complete dignity and have good reputation with outsiders. Those are the people that Timothy instructed the church to put in charge of the church, not the religious institution. The church means the assembly of the Most High. Those are the people that Timothy was told to identify to be leaders of the Most High's people. The one thing that's also implied when you read that whole passage, Timothy doesn't make the determination himself. He tells the people, I want you all, because you know each other. I want you all to identify from among yourselves who those people that I just described are, and then I'll ordain them. That's how it's supposed to work. Titus chapter 1, verses 5 through 9. The reason I left you in Crete, Paul talking to Titus, was that you would set in order what was unfinished and appoint elders or bishops or leaders, okay, in every town as I directed you. See, this goes from the smallest towns all the way up to the biggest cities, all the way up to the nation state. These are the same. It all starts from the same root when it comes to the leaders. Okay. So again, it says an elder must be blameless, the husband of but one wife, having children who are believers and who are not open to accusation of indiscretion or insubordination. I want you to think about our current state of affairs, whether you're talking about the political arena or the religious arena, and ask the simple question, do I see the people leading us with these attributes? Most High's people, this is how we rebuild a community. Let me just go to the verse 7. As the Most High's steward, see, it doesn't say as the Most High's potentate. It doesn't say that. It says as the Most High's steward, an overseer must be above reproach, not self-willed, not quick-tempered, not given to drunkenness, not violent, not greedy for money. Instead, he must be hospitable, a lover of good, self-controlled, upright, holy, which means set apart, and disciplined. He must hold firmly to the faithful word as it was taught, so that he can encourage others by sound teaching and refute those who contradict it. And let me just interject here. This is from the King James Version, all right? And I know we live in a world that has gender wars as one of the wars and rumors of wars, okay? If you are a woman and you are heading up the Most High's people, this also applies to you. There's no reason to even have that conversation when it comes to what the expectation of people in leadership should be, because trust and believe the society needs, wants, and will prosper when we find people like this. So I'll say it again, when we find people like this. 1 Peter 5:1-4. As a fellow elder, a witness of Christ's sufferings and a partaker of the glory to be revealed, I appeal to the elders among you. Peter was one of the elders also. So this whole idea that Peter is the first pope of the church, that's man's narrative, and it's a lie. Peter was one of the premier servants of the Most High, and his job was to feed the Most High's people, which is the job of all the servants of the Most High or the shepherds of the Most High. So he says, be shepherds of the Most High's flock that is among you, watching over them, not out of compulsion, but willingly, as Yahuwah would have you, not out of greed, but of eagerness, not lording it over those entrusted to you. The pastor is not your master. The pastor is not your Lord. The pastor is a shepherd, just as other leaders are. Although that is true, that the pastor is a shepherd, so is the city council member. So is the school board member. They're all shepherds over what the Most High has given to his people to have a productive and a godly and a safe life. So anybody who's making laws for the people, make laws for the people based on the laws of the Most High, not based on money or lucre. That's one of the negative identifiers of people that you don't put into uh, positions of leadership, whether in the church or out of the church. Okay, so not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. Whose flock is it? It's not your pastor's flock. So anybody who's a pastor thinking that that's your flock, you're wrong. That flock belongs to the Messiah, not to you. And when you treat his flock, that means that you are a steward. You are the steward of that house, or one of the stewards in that house. Verse 4, and when the chief shepherd appears, that's what I just said. He's the shepherd. You will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away. There is a reward for being a good leader. I just saw that there's a misspelled word here. My apology. Okay, so these are not religious functions. They are the requirements to lead a people, or they are the requirements to lead a nation. So that's the point. The point is, if you want a healthy nation, if you want a righteous nation, if you want a just nation, identify people in the nation with these attributes and put them in charge. And when you do, your nation will prosper. Yasharel, Israel. And then you can be an example to other nations. Israel did not go around taking other people's property. Israel did not go around taking other people's land. Israel did not go around taking other people, innocent people's lives. They didn't do that because the Father didn't tell Israel to be that kind of example. Just because we're in 2025, that doesn't mean that things have changed in that regard, in terms of his expectations. So his Israel operates this way. That's how you will know who his Israel is. We're still on that theme of being able to identify the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman. Israel is the seed of the woman. And this is what Israel looks like. That's why we're going over these lessons. So, because Israel right now is still in the land of its captivity, because Israel right now is scattered all over the world, we as the people of the Most High are going to have to acknowledge first our current state. We have to acknowledge that the state of our community is the result of sin in the camp. If we can start there, we're starting from a premise that the Most High can use to pull us out of the mire that we're in. Realistically speaking, our enemies have always worked against us as his people. They've never been our allies. We're the ones who keep trying to make allies of our enemies. That does not work. It never works. And when you study the scripture, you will see all these principles that I'm expounding on in the context of all these Bible stories that we've all heard about and read, but we didn't make the connection. So the first enemy that Israel had was Egypt. And what did most of the people in Israel want to do? They wanted to go back to Egypt. And who were some of the other enemies? The people who were the surrounding nations that wanted to destroy them. They wanted to be like the other nations. That's why they were asking Samuel, or not even asking, demanding that Samuel give them a king like everybody else had. And well, that's what we got. We got a king like everybody else had. And those kings are the kind of people that are running the United States of America. So, and everywhere else on the planet, including the continent of Africa. So yeah, those people are still running things. But the Most High is about to change all of that, and he wants to change it through us, his people. So what do we have to do? We have to separate ourselves from those enemies rather than seeking their approval. In other words, the family and the community and the nation must be led by godly people, because they will appeal to the highest expectations for man rather than pander to the lowest common denominator of man. The lowest common denominator of man is fear, which leads to murder and absolute desire for control over everything, including resources and the souls of other people. So we have a choice as Yahuwah's people. He's given us his vision for who we are to be. And that's what these meditations are about. That's what he has for his people on this Shabbat. Father, bless you and keep you. Father, make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. Father, lift up his